Hi, everybody. Sensei Matt here, ready to teach another black belt class. And we're starting on our new curriculum for the months of March and April. We're going to be staying with Suansu as our empty hand kata, but we'll also be adding in the Bobo Kumite kata and the second Bo kata as well. We'll also review the first Bo kata as well, Tokumine no Kun. So we'll be working on a few different things. Also, we're getting back to some sparring in class. So remember to bring your sparring gear and self-defense, which we'll also use the safety gear for as well. So you can be making some light contact, but it won't be skin to skin. It'll be on the pads itself. So we're going to get started today, and let's do a bow in, and then we'll get going. Ready? Attention, position, focus, and bow, respect. Good. And then let us get started. All right, on your own, little warm up. Give me 20 jumping jacks on your own. Ready, go. Start warming up. Get those muscles moving. Get yourself warmed up for our next activities. Good. Keep it up. After the jumping jacks, you can go into your push-ups. Give me a set of push-ups, 10, 15, 20 push-ups on your own. All right, go ahead, get those going. While you're doing that, I'm going to remind you to have your bow ready because we're going to get right into bow techniques and working on Bobo Kumite. But finishing up your push-ups. Good. And of course, on your own, doing a couple more sets on push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, things like that. But as black belts, you should be doing your fitness on your own. We shouldn't have to spend a lot of time in these classes doing fitness. All right, we're going to move on to your bow. So go ahead and grab your bow. And if you don't have one yet, it would be a good idea to get a kumite bow. That's the heavy bows that are thicker, more solid, and that you don't mind denting up a bit. The kumite bows, you'll know, you can see have some more marks on them, a little bit of dents on them. They're great for hitting against other bows, but not so great for doing your kata. Sometimes a piece of the wood might splinter, and that can be dangerous, especially with some of the sliding moves and things like that. On a kumite bow, it's not so bad, but on a kata bow, you definitely want to keep that one smoother. So black belts typically have a bow that they use for kata and a bow that they use for the Bobo or Bosai Kumite katas. All right, so we're going to go to working on some the moves out of Tokumine no Kun. Oh, I'm sorry, out of Bobo Kumite. And I want you to think of the kata, even if you do know both sides of it, but I want you to be thinking about one half of it first. And the first half we're going to be working on is the attacker. The attacker is the person who stands in the back when we do the kata with a partner. And the attacker initiates all the moves. So it's important for the attacker to really know their material so that they know the order of the technique so it works well with their partner. When you're on the defense, when you're in the front, you're reacting off of the other person. And of course, you should be following the combinations or the routine, but if somebody makes a mistake, you're reacting off of them. But we're going to go with the offensive person, the person in back who's the attacker. Now, the person in back will be standing about 6 feet behind the person who's in front, who's going to be their defender. But the attacker starts by calling off the beginning of the kata. Yasume, Kyusuke, right? Bobo Kumite, Hajime. And then pull around and twist, just like in the Bo 1 kata, step back with a down block and an overhead strike. Then take a guard. At that point, you pause for a moment, you make sure the other person is in their position, and the first attack with the ki, remember they're turned away from you right now, the ki sets up the person's movement so that they know when they're going to be spinning around to block. You ki first, and then step in with a strike. And you're stepping in with your left leg and striking in with the left end of the bow. It's like a side strike, but it's with the rear hand coming straight across, rib level. So that's the first attack. So you stepped in and you do that strike to the side. Then come back to guard and you're facing your partner again. Now the next attacks are the two straight in attacks, snapping attacks, or thrusting attacks. You step forward into the crane stance and snap one, and then into the horse stance, snap two. Your opponent, of course, will do their circle blocks against it. So let's review those first two movements. After you begin the kata, with a down block and an overhead strike, take your guard. Now step in with the left, hit. You're hitting with the left hand. That's a rib level side strike. Then back to guard. Now the attacker comes in with the snapping strikes, crane stance one, horse stance two, and then back. When you're first learning this kata, just staying in the same position with a little bit of shuffling back and forth is fine. Sometimes you'll see the more advanced black belts doing it by circling around each other. And that is the next stage in learning it. But once you know all the moves in the pattern, then you can start doing the circling. All right, third combination is a low reverse strike. And you step forward with your left leg and strike in low, and then bring it around and strike in low on the right side with the right foot forward. And now the third move from there is the head block. All right. So let's categorize these techniques a little bit. We've done the beginning of the kata. The first move is just one move. Left foot forward, side strike, and then back to guard. The second move is two strikes. 1, 2. And then the third part of this combination is 3 strikes. 2 low reverse strikes and then a head block. The pattern for the attacker from this point on, or most of the attacks from this point on, is strike, strike, block. So we step in with the left and do a low reverse strike. Step in with the right, do a low side strike, and then head block from there. All right, so that's the first 3. We're going to go on to the next one, which is doing your side strikes again. So that same move that you did as number 1, you step in again and do that, and then across with the other hand, and then head block. So you step in for the second strike as well. Let's do that fourth move again. Side, side, head block. All right, again, it's strike, strike, block. All right, we're going to go up to number 4 with the pattern again, okay? Do it with me. Same beginning, Yasume, Kisuke, right? Bobo Kumite, Hajime. Pull around, twist, down block, and overhead strike. Guard. Now you get ready for your opponent. You give a ki-ai, and you step in with a side strike. Back to guard. That was number 1, 1 strike. Number 2, 2 strikes. 1, 2, and then back. Number 3, 3 moves. Low reverse, stepping in. Low side, stepping in, and head block in place. And then guard. Always recover with a guard position after each combination. Reset your distance so that you're ready for the next movement with your partner. Number 4, side strike. Side strike, head block. All right, good. And we're just going to go up to the next one, number 5. Stepping in with the left, instead of doing a low reverse strike, we strike up high. That's a head level strike with the bow, stepping in. And now step in with the right foot, head level strike. But now what's different here is the block. We're going to change the bow up here. Let your right hand come up high and then give a twist. So now your block is that down block, the same as the beginning move in the kata. So let's do number 5 again. Step in, reverse strike to the head. Step in, side strike to the head. And now down block. And of course, come right back to guard after that. So that's the first 5 steps of Bobo Kumite for the attacker's role. Now, of course, you'll learn the rest of this over the next couple of weeks in your classes. You'll be working on it. And if you know more of it, that's great, but we're focusing on just the first part of it for this video. And of course, you'll start to learn the defensive part as well. So in future videos, I might have a partner and then we'll do it back and forth together so you get to see both roles. But you have to know the offensive role and the defensive role, both to do this kata well. And of course, you have to have some confidence with your partner to know where they're striking, and they might be putting some force into their strike. So you have to do it properly and effectively and confidently by working with a partner. And again, eventually working with lots of different partners. So you get used to different timing, distance, and movements and things like that. All right. So that's the first part of Bobo Kumite. So work on that on your own and watch this section again if you need to. We're going to move on though now and talk about Suin-Su Kata a little bit. All right, Suin-Su Kata. At this point, you should know the whole kata, and you should be able to perform it smoothly and get through the whole thing. But let's talk about a few points of this kata, and really some of these points, they work with any kata. The idea of relaxing before you strike, the idea of using your whole body behind your moves, the idea of turning your head when you're changing direction, and of course, what you've been seeing in some of the other videos, the bunkai, or the application of the moves. So let's talk a bit about developing power into this kata. We won't do every move per se, but we will work on a few of them. And to develop power in our karate techniques, for our arms, for our upper body, we have to have a strong base. Our stance has to be proper, our posture has to be correct, and the turn of the hips, the quick snap of the hips, that's so important in developing power in karate. That has to be a part of most of your moves. So I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit so you can see the stance a little bit better. And we'll start here and we'll go to the beginning move. The first move of Suin-Su Kata, when we're at ready position, is stepping forward and double block. So this nice wide stance gives me a good base, a good solid position. My back foot straight, my front foot straight. All right, so I'm nice and wide there. Of course, you're relaxed at the beginning of this move and then tight and then relax again. Now, at this point, we know we're going to do that sliding in punch. So the slide in already develops a lot of power, but this time using your hips back. When your hand comes back, draw your hip back slightly. Now slide in and punch. So that turn of the hips helps you with the power behind that punch. Same thing on the next move. Hand back, start to circle step. And you see when my hand comes back, I bring my hip back too. Don't just bring your hand back only. We're not punching with just our arms, we're punching with our whole body. So bring your hand back, step in, turn it in as you punch. And then the third one again. Turn your hip as your hand comes back, step, and now use that hip turn to help you with your power and your punch. Hands come back. Now in this case, since we're going to be doing our double spear hand, in order to get some power behind that, we can't twist one way and then the other way. They're both striking at the same time. So it's the shuffle forward and the tightening of the hips that help you get the power behind the spear hand. And again. Now, here's the cover. And as you step back, bring your hip back slightly. See that? See how it turned back a little bit? Now, as you block, turn into it. So we're not just keeping our body completely still and doing everything with our arm. We're using our body behind the movement. Now, the double punch is 2 fast hip snaps to help with the punch. In for the first one, back again for the second one. But in quick succession, 1, 2. Relaxing in between makes a big difference there. All right, so that even just that first section of the kata, if you're taking your time with it, you're making a nice wide stance, you're using your hips, you'll find that you'll develop a lot more strength, a lot more power and impact behind your striking moves and your blocking moves. Using those hips, be relaxed. In the past, we've done exercises where you're just relaxing and moving your hips and letting it throw your upper body into it. Well, that's the same thing here. Turning your hips into the punch to add the force of your body behind the strength of your arm. All right, that's the first part of the kata. Let's take another section of the kata. And let's go to the side-to-side movements, which are a little bit challenging because that grab and pull and double elbow strike, that can be a little confusing. So I'm talking about the part where you've gone here, double head block, we angle off kick, and now we turn in. And you can see I cover my body and I'm striking down low, and then I'm grabbing and pulling in for the first elbow. So I'm using my body to turn that way. Now, as I shuffle, I again use my hips to get the force behind the elbow strikes. Don't just move your arms. If you're just moving your arms, all your power is only coming from whatever you can get out of your arm movement. But when you use your body, you get a lot more force behind it. Then turn, strike and cover, grab and pull in. So that's with the shuffle and a hip turn. Now the two hip movements on the elbow strike. So an elbow strike can be very powerful. It just has to be focused like a punching strike. Sometimes people will do an elbow and it'll swing through, but there's no focus point. Well, these elbows are aiming to the ribs. And the focus point should be, if I'm doing it straight at you, solar plexus for the first one, and the tip of the elbow at rib level for the next two. So using your hips on elbow strikes, same idea as what we said before on doing it with punches. All right. Those are some points in Sun-Tzu Kata. And of course, this relates to any kata that you're doing, that when possible, use your hips. It's not a major motion of the hips. It's very subtle. It's a minor motion. It's like a vibration of the hip pulling back and then extending out. Some karate styles use a major hip motion. They might block like this and then a big turn of the hips on their punch. And then block like this and then a big turn of the hips on their punch. And that's very good too. It takes a lot of time, but it's very powerful. In Isshinryu, it's got to be quick and powerful both. So on a block and a punch, it's subtle, it's quick, it's that little twist and snap of the hips that helps you get your power. Behind a block, a strike, pretty much any upper body movement. Wide stance helps. So make sure you're not getting too narrow. If you're narrow in your stance, it's hard to move the hips. So put it out nice and wide so you can learn how to strengthen your strikes by twisting those hips into it. All right, so those are a few techniques to work on. As you practice on your own, do your Sun-Tzu Kata and think about how am I going to get more power behind it. In learning a kata to develop your skill and your mastery of it, you have to first learn the moves, the order of the moves. That's important. Secondly, start to get your body behind what you're doing to get some power into it. And then third, you look for speed. And speed is getting that relaxation before you get the strike in, before you get the power, so that you can perform a whole kata without feeling like you're tensed up the whole time and losing your breath. So exhaling, relaxing in between the kata movements, that comes along in time. All right, kicking techniques. And we're just going to focus right now on your side kick, because this is one of the kicks in Sun-Tzu Kata and also in Wan-Tsu Kata. So it will help either way. When we're doing the side kick, our hands come over to our side, our foot comes up to the knee. And when it's already pulled up here, it's in the blade position, even at this point. So get that angle of the foot right from there as soon as you pick up your foot to your knee. Of course, your eye contact is to the side. And now when you kick, try to push by extending your leg a little bit. So you bend as you start, bend. And then as you kick, push your body into it, push your hip into it, and straighten the leg at the same time. So you're getting an outward push of your body. So again, it's not just your leg doing the movement, but your body as well. That takes some loading up on the hip and the knee, bending, and then pushing it in as you do the kick. So the snap comes from the fast outward movement and then the fast back movement. Hands over, look, chamber first, kick, rechamber, and then get ready for the next one. So come back with balance. Try not to fall off of your kick, but come back to the same position that you started in a balanced stance with your foot at your knee. And then switch. Now, same thing, bend the knee, feel like you're sinking into it. Bring it in and out with a fast snap. So think about pushing your body in as you're doing the kick. From your bend, straighten your leg out a little bit as you're kicking. So it's not just the leg, but it's the body too. That's helping you with the power behind your kick. This idea can be done with almost any kick, but today we're focusing on the side kick with that. Now, on your own practice, when you do Suin-Su Kata, my suggestion is you do it 3 times. The first time, just do it at a normal pace. Practice where you can snap your techniques, where you have a good flow behind it, and you're just reviewing all the moves, feeling more familiar with it. Second time, go for power. Try to get that force, that strength behind every move. That might mean slowing down a little bit, and that's okay. Then the third time you go through it, this is the time to make some corrections, where you might do it slower, but if a move didn't feel right, if a move feels like it was off balance or out of position, you do it again a couple more times, 2 or 3 more times before you move on to the next move. This way, you'll get that extra practice time in on those moves that weren't quite right, so that the next time you do the kata, you'll have improved that technique. The whole idea is making it better and better. Don't just run through the kata to get it done. That's not the point. The point is to make it better each time. So first time, normal pace, just get the flow. Second time, get that power behind it. Really get the intensity behind what you're doing. Get your head into it. Mentally, you're into the kata. Physically, you're into the kata. And then the third time, slow it down again. Break it down. Work on your individual moves. This is a great way to practice any kata or really any technique. So today we worked on Bo for Bobo Kumite, the attacker's roll. We did the first 5 attacks. And then we also worked on Suin-Su Kata. We talked about getting power behind your moves. So apply these in your own practice. Your senseis will be working with you in classes as well. And of course, always ask your teachers if you need help on any area. Good job today. Keep up the good work. We'll say goodbye for now and bow. Good. And keep up your training. I'll see you in the next video.